Maria, great to see you again. I think it was sometime in 2022 when we last caught up, and you were talking about all that was happening in the home buying and selling process to speed that up. So I was really keen to get an update from you on where things are at. And I also understand there's been a change of name because when we last talked, you were the chair of the Home Buying and Selling Technology Group, but that's not quite the case anymore. What's been going on? I imagine there's always lots going on in your lives.
There is lots going on. Keeping me busy and keeping me out of mischief, which is always a good thing. So yeah, fab to catch up. Thank you for having me back. So I guess last time we spoke, we were, as the home buying selling group, they'd asked me to have a look at whether or not the process could be digitized and why that hadn't been done before when we do
Mm,
it for everything else in our lives, everything else we can do on our phones. And we uncovered lots of things about the process that were very broken and made it very hard to digitize. And we've had lots of volunteers and lots of technology people, much cleverer than I am, who were helping us to work through, could it be digitized? And if we could, what would that mean?
yeah.
And that ended up being so ridiculously successful in a good way that government really bought into the things that we'd evidenced and shown them. But also we did some proof of concepts and some trials and some tests that I shared with you last time. And the people who'd been involved in doing that with us were so impressed by the results that we ended up forming a trade association called the
Okay.
Open Property Data Association, which we launched last summer.
Okay.
And all of those firms who'd been involved in the tests and in the evidence gathering and in the trials, all committed to setting up this trade association with me,
Okay.
working with government to make
Yeah.
sure that the digitization happens, but also to put all of this stuff live in their own solutions, which was amazing. So, yeah,
Okay.
it's been very busy 2 years getting to that point.
There's always been so many challenges, but I guess that's what you were taking on. Um, Almost kind of challenges to progress, and yet it has felt everybody's pushing in the same direction. In that we all want transactions to happen efficiently and effectively, and but it's never quite got that. And what I'm really picking up from you in the times that we've met and talked this is that things are actually happening now that are going to be transformational.
Yeah, absolutely. And long overdue, especially from a
Yes.
customer experience. Some of the things that we uncovered while we were doing our research were that unlike other industries where, digital services can happen because data is available in the right format and
Mm,
there are ways of sharing that data safely and securely for consumers, in property, we don't have that. So we still have this huge reliance on paper and on forms. Our titles and our deeds and our
mm,
searches all live in documents. And those documents are very hard to authenticate, but they're also very difficult to share with other people because you can't
yeah.
trust them. You
Yes.
have to prove where they came from. And some good examples of things like when you do your titles and your deeds, they get checked multiple times. They get checked in the wrong times in the process. Everything happens at the end instead of the beginning. And
Yeah.
those are the we're testing. And one of the big things we talked about last time was digital identity. So as a customer, if I'm buying a house, I currently have to do my identity at least 4 times. And I do that by physically sharing
Mm,
my passport or my identity document and my proof of address. And I'm sharing these documents with people, and which is not great from a customer experience, but also I'm having to do that multiple times. And it's those things we uncovered that data isn't
yeah.
digital, but it should be, but also the way for customers to access that information and share it doesn't actually exist.
Mm,
And not to get too technical about it, but there's kind of ecosystems and frameworks that underpin everything that we do digitally. So everything from how you collect information on Google Maps and share, pin drop where you are, right through to how we travel or how we order things, on phones, and being able to download your boarding pass and scan it and upload things. And
mm,
those things all have frameworks that underpin them. And for property, we don't have a framework. And
no.
that's one of the biggest learns for government to say, we have frameworks for everything else we do. Buying a property is one of the biggest, scariest, most important transactions we ever do. How can we do this and not have an infrastructure to underpin it? And
Yeah.
that's been a kind of big mindset shift for industry
Yeah.
and government. We need to fix this infrastructure problem. We need to solve access to data and making that data trusted and shareable.
Mm,
And that's what
yes.
we did.
But that's what you do. You say that quite simply. It's a massive undertaking, but encouraging to think that you've got support and you've got support from a lot of stakeholders. How have you got on with the new government? What are they committing to?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I'm not gonna, not gonna lie. The summer was tough. We made so much progress with the previous government. We'd highlighted to them that actually government had done their own research in 2017 to identify why the home buying process was so difficult. And back in 2017, average transaction times were about 16 weeks. And that was deemed to be too long, and the customer experience wasn't great. And in the 6 years since then, the transaction times have got longer. We're now averaging 22-ish weeks, and the customer experience has gotten even worse.
And that's in spite of the changes and improvements to technology over those 6 years. I know there's more to come, but things have got better. So why have transactions slowed even further?
Yeah, and lots of good reasons for it and lots of excuses too. But one of the things that had come out of that research in 2017, and that was government research, was the government themselves committed to digitising the data at source, so digitising titles, deeds, searches, and to implementing digital solutions. So to do things like making identity shareable and to give customers access to their data so that they could share it. And those things haven't happened. And that's 6 years down the line and it hasn't. We were making really good progress with the previous government. We also had a select committee inquiry where I gave evidence in Parliament explaining these commitments have already been made. You already know that this is what we need, but we also need you to give a steer to industry and to customers to go, this is what your experience should look like. These are the things you should be able to do. And we need you to stand up and deliver these things. And then, of course, the general election came and everything was paused over the summer.
Sure.
So had a few nervous moments, not knowing how the new government would respond. But thankfully, they have absolutely embraced everything that we've been working on. A lot of the teams that we were working with have actually stayed the same, even though the ministers have changed. They've done an amazing job briefing the incoming ministers. But when the King opened Parliament and when everyone came back after summer, the King's speech set out the legislation that's going to happen in this first term of Parliament, and they included the legislation that we need to make this happen. And that legislation sits in one bill, which is called the Digital Information and Smart Data Bill. And it all sounds very techy and stuff, but for customers, it just means you will be able to access the data that you need to do the things that you need to do with it, whether that's to, switch energy provider or change your bank account, or to share data that you need to move house efficiently, safely, and to be able to do it the right way around. So that legislation is now working its way through Parliament, which is like, yay.
Fantastic. Well, well done you, Maria. Well done. Well done, everybody. I spent my career helping people to move home. And at Move IQ, we really want everybody to have access to property expertise. Whether you're buying for the first time, selling, renting, renovating, or relocating, Move IQ brings you expert, impartial advice for every step of your property journey. You'll find our easy insider guides, news, and free resources on the Move IQ website, on our YouTube channel, and via our podcast. Not only that, but if you're as obsessed with all things property related as I am, you'll love our exclusive property tours, our market updates, and our interviews with various industry movers and shakers. Just don't move home without us. What about your member firms, and what are they committing to, and who are they as well?
So just what a fabulous bunch. Bearing in mind that when we were doing this for the home buying and selling group, they were all volunteering their time and their resources and, all of their really clever thinking.
A lot of people have put an awful lot of time and effort into making this happen, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And with a huge leap of faith, because, I come from a mortgages background, and before that, contact centres. This is not really my world. I've never been, on the property side other than mortgages. So for them to kind of follow this lead and accept this vision and test it was huge. So we've got our founding members who have been with me since the beginning. And that's everything from property portal, estate agent portals, right the way through mortgage lenders, technology firms, right up to conveyancing companies. So we've got a really good cross section of everyone in industry. And those 14 firms who did all of the testing are all in various stages of go live. And we've got people who are doing live transactions today using digital, which is fantastic.
Yep.
But because we did such a great job and those guys were so passionate about it, they've shared their learnings. They've been really open and collaborative. We've actually ended up with the big lenders. And by big lenders, I mean Lloyds Banking Group, Halifax, Nationwide, NatWest, HSBC, have all come and joined us and all committed to making this happen for their customers who are going through mortgage applications and who are moving home. So between them, so we've got Atom Bank, UTB and all these people in between. So between them, that's more than 50% of mortgages go through those lenders, and they've all committed to digitising the property data and making it shareable for their customers to create a better transaction and a better experience. So, absolutely phenomenal.
Maria, you're actually getting me excited. You're actually getting me excited. This is going to happen. This is going to happen. In your mind's eye, how quickly do you think one day it will be possible to complete a property transaction? What are we aiming for?
Well, we talk a lot about speed because speed's the thing that feels painful. But I think for us, it's actually about customers having control and customers having transparency and confidence and actually having some say over when they can and what have you. So one of the outputs of that is that the transaction is quicker, but it's actually the customer having the control and being able to set that timetable. So we have customers who are live today who have a digital property pack at the very beginning of their transaction that the sellers create with their estate agent or with a prop tech company. They've instructed their conveyancer prior to listing, and then they've shared that property data all the way through. We've had customers who've been able to exchange contracts in 15 days and who've been able to complete their transaction and move within 6 to 8 weeks. And
fantastic.
And we've got hundreds of customers who are having that experience now. So nothing stopping that being the norm from now on. And let's say the exchange of contract bit's the important bit, because once you exchange contracts, you know that everything's happening. You know you can book with confidence. You can take however long you need to pack up your house and sort out your garage and get your kids into school and have your holidays and all the things that you do, but set your moving date knowing that it's going to happen. And that's the most important thing. So whether that's 6 weeks or months doesn't matter, as long as the customer knows that they're okay.
That's just wonderful. I'm so pleased. I really am, because it feels like we're nearly there. Well, you're proving we are there. I guess what needs to happen is everybody involved in the whole transaction process needs to get behind it and support what you're doing, and then everyone will be in a better place. I think it's wonderful. What can people who are moving, what can they do to help, or what can they do to kind of add pressure on everyone to get behind it?
Yeah, so the big pieces of work still to do with the data still needs to be digitised at source, and that's, land registry, search companies, lots of government departments, everything from EPC register, council tax listings. There's just huge amounts of property data that needs to be collected. So the more noise we can make about get that prioritised, that needs to be done. And that would be amazing. And yes, we've got more than 50% of mortgage lenders engaged, but the property industry is huge. There's a lot of agent systems, conveyancing platforms, property lawyers, lots of technology firms who provide services who all need to get on board and do this. So one of the things that we are doing at the moment, for the next, just for a little while, is we're doing a consumer survey to give customers the voice to talk about what their experience is like today, but also to talk about digital property data and how they feel about accessing and sharing their data and what they need to be able to feel confident and to be able to trust that kind of service. So we've got a survey that's out at the moment. I'll share the link on the YouTube comments, and it's on our website as well. But we'd love to have lots of people contributing to that and showing just how much feeling there is around not only how bad the experience is today, but that customers really do want it to be better, and how they feel about digitisation. Like, what does Property Pack mean to them? How would they feel about being in control of their identity and their property data and having the ability to share that? And we'll make a lot of noise about that. We'll share the results Parliament later this year. But obviously we'll publish them publicly as well, so customers can see that they're not alone, that lots of other customers feel exactly the same, but also that there's lots of people in the industry who are working to make this happen. And the more they hear from their customers, the more people we can get to start adopting.
Well, all power to you, Maria. Please, on behalf of everybody, keep doing what you're doing. You've made incredible inroads, and it feels like we are so nearly there. But you're building up the sort of head of steam, and then the gates will open, and everyone will be delighted and very, very grateful. As am I, really grateful, not only for all that you're doing, but for coming on the podcast and sharing it. Many, many thanks. Great to see you again. Can we do it again?
Always, always.
Lovely. Nice to see you. Bye-bye.
You say too. See you soon.